Hello everybody and welcome back. My name is Kari and today I am doing my October TBR. That's what it's called. October TBR. So for those of you who are new, it is my birthday month. It is also Abby from Abby with Pelinor's birthday month, and because of that I thought I would do another Abby themed month with a couple of caveats. All of the books that I didn't read from August, or from September, are carrying over. So I've got three drug books. I've got a biography on Hemingway, I've got some books that I need to read so that I can annotate them and gift them, which are not mentioned in my TBR because gifts. I've still got to read Parable of the Talents, various and sundry books over there. So I'm going to read all of those, but on top of that I have 3 books before we get into the actual Abby themed books that I need to read before October 13th because I am going home for my birthday, which is the 15th, and I am bringing these books to my mother so that she can read them. The first is Hollywood Spy by Susan Elia McNeill. This is the 10th book in the Maggie Hope series, World War II woman spy, and my mom and I have both absolutely loved the first 9. So when the 10th one came out and I could get it half off, I absolutely did, and now I need to read it so that I can bring it home in October so that I can get it back in December at Christmas. It's a whole plan. We got it worked out. And the other ones, oh no, please don't fall. There we go. There is a third one to this, which is actually the second one, but that is the Satopur Moonstone, The Widows of Malabar Hill, and I can't see that, but it's over there, whatever the third one is. It might tell me. No, naturally it does not tell me. That's nice. But these are 1920s India woman lawyer solves mysteries, which sounds amazing and very much Miss Fisher's murder mysteries, which both my mother and I adore. The TV series. The books are pretty good too, but the TV series. So obviously I will be reading these and giving them, or lending them to my mother to read. And then we get into the actual Abby stuff. So first off we have Fresh Banana Leaves, Healing Indigenous Landscapes Through Indigenous Science by Jessica Hernandez, PhD. So this one has not been recommended to me by Abby, bought for me by Abby, or anything like that, but I am doing this because I would like to fit some nonfiction in, and I think she would enjoy this book. Obviously, it's nonfiction, it does what it says on the tin, but part of that is she is into science, she got her master's in geology, and really enjoys volcanoes. So the idea of looking at landscape through sort of an indigenous landscape, I think would very much appeal to her, and it obviously appeals to me because I bought the book. Gonna try and make that so the pile doesn't collapse 5 books later. Next we have The Sixth Extinction, An Unnatural History by Elizabeth Colbert. Same kind of thing as the Indigenous History one. Not recommended to me directly by Abby, but I'm going to read it in the hope, I guess, with the potential that she could really enjoy that and I could add it to my list of books to potentially buy for her for holidays. Or for fun. This one, what is this one? Last 500 million years, 5 mass extinctions. Scientists are monitoring the 6th, which will be about as bad as wiping out the dinosaurs, so we're dead. Oh yeah, yep, Cataclysm is us. Oh no, we are the Cataclysm, that's bad. I mean, it's not great either way, but that's not the point. So she tells us how humans have, why and how human beings have altered life on the planet in a way no species has before. She shows that this is going to be mankind's most lasting legacy, compelling us to rethink the fundamental question of what it means to be human. There we go. Which sounds really interesting. Maybe a little bit morbid, but, interesting. And then Abby will be happy because I'm going to continue my read of the Skullduggery Pleasant series with the Faceless ones by Derek Landy. This is the 3rd book in this series. I've read the first 2. I own the next 2, so since these are very quick, easy reads, I should be able to sit down and crank them out and get through at least these 2 books. If you don't know, 11-year-old girl in Ireland meets a skeleton detective and shit blows up. fantastic books, highly entertaining. Then we have Babel, which came out in August by R.F. Kuang, which is dark academia, focusing on languages and colonization and imperialism. Sounds amazing. I have heard absolutely phenomenal things about it, largely, and I adored the Poppy War series, so I am beyond excited to get to this. I just, look, September was Renfest, and I will not apologize for that. End of sentence. But October, so I'm hoping I can get to this. I think this is, I don't know which edition this is. I have 3 different editions. This must be the Waterstones edition. But yes, gonna get to this one. And then we have one that I believe she bought me like 2 years ago now. Whoops. The Vanishing Half by Britt Bennett. This is a story about 2 sisters, one of whom passes and one of whom does not. And essentially what that means for their lives, and I don't know if they meet up. Their daughters' lives intersect. So that could be really fun. I've heard, again, phenomenal things about this one. It has been on my TBR for probably a couple of years now, and I just haven't got to it. So Abby month, this one. We also have The Last Roundhead by Jamal Evans, which is a historical fiction about the English Civil War. 1642 in this book specifically. Abby also adores this series. It is a series, and I haven't read it. But with a Charles on the throne again, this ought to be a good, interesting read. God forbid they have another civil war, because I have friends over there and I don't want them dead. However, I really wouldn't have gone with the name Charles, given what happened with the first one. And really, even the second one. Not that he lost his head, he was known as the Merry Monarch, but, I mean, he didn't have a kid, so it went to his Catholic brother, and then we have the Glorious Revolution. Like, it just, the Stuarts were not a good dynasty. At least not for England. In that kind of regard. Whether or not they were morally or intellectually or culturally good, I neither know nor care right now. But the point is, I wouldn't have gone with Charles. Moving on. So, this one she bought me, was this last year? That sounds right. The Revolution of Mariana M by Janet Fitch. I think this one she bought me off my list. She'd never heard of it. But because she bought it for me, it counts. This is St. Petersburg, New Year's Eve, 1916. Marina is a privileged woman who wants to break free of her genteel life, and then, well, 1916 is, right before the Russian Revolution. So that ought to be fun for her. But yeah, this one also sounds really interesting. I don't know much, if anything, about Russian, what on earth am I doing with my hair? Russian history, particularly around this time period. I did take a class that was Russian history from, I want to say, like 1715 to 1917 or something. But obviously, given the choice, I will focus on the earlier part of history. Really anything up until about 1800, I'm particularly interested in. 1800 to 1970 is decent and I will enjoy it, but it may not be something I go out and search. 1970 and onward, and I will just ask my parents. And if you tell me that 2004 was history, I may have a heart attack and die. Because it was not. I was alive. I was more than double digits, for that matter. So, no. Next book is The Clockmakers Daughter by Kate Morton, which Abby also bought me last year. I'm pretty sure it was last year. Time has lost all meaning, in case you missed the last however long we've been in the middle of a panini. So this one is 1862, a group of young artists descend upon Birchwood Manor on the banks of the Upper Thames. By the time their stay is over, one woman's been shot while another's disappeared, a priceless heirloom is missing, and Radcliffe's life is in ruin. And then, 150 years later, a young archivist in London uncovers a leather satchel containing 2 seemingly unrelated items. And she tries to figure out what the items are and why they feel familiar. So that ought to be really fun. I enjoy dual perspective and dual timeline books like this. And I've heard good things about Kate Morton. And then the biggest book in this month is Pillars of the Earth by Ken Follett. We are buddy reading this, hence all of the little sticky notes, tabby notes, because neither of us have read it. neither of us have read it, and we are interested, but it is terrifying because my copy is 1,008 pages. I believe hers is 1,088 pages. So just minor terror there. But we are breaking it up into 50 to 80 page chunks, depending on the copy of the book, and reading it bit by bit. So far, it's interesting. I've read a couple sections as of filming, and we will see how this goes. Then, back to the not having recommended directly, African Europeans by Olivet Otella. This is a nonfiction. It does what it says on the tin. It talks about African people, or black people, in Europe, you know, pre-1500, when white people decided to enslave them. This is, again, not directly recommended by Abby, but I think she would find it really interesting because, one, she's European, and two, we have very similar tastes and interests, even so far as, quite frankly, history and geology, or science. Although I think she's definitely more the volcanology person, and I'm more the astronomy person. She has more of a science background, she's better at maths, I can pretty much guarantee it. I just really like reading about space. It's pretty. So that's where I'm at. But anyway, I think this one will be very interesting, and it'll be nice to be able to clap back at people who go, "There were no black people in Europe." Really? Really? You think people just stayed in one hovel their entire lives? Don't get me wrong, I'm sure in Europe they did for a very long time, but they did make pilgrimages. Religion is a thing, and it takes you all over the place. Not getting into the evangelism bit. Next up we have White Like Her by Gail Lukasik, which is her family's story of race and racial passing. This one I'm associating with Abby because Abby read Passing by Nella Larson, which is the reason I read that book earlier this year and the reason that I bought this book. This is a nonfiction about a woman who finds out her mom was black, but had been passing for years, and so she tries to reconnect with her mother's African-American family. Yeah. And how she goes about doing that and what it kind of reveals to her about life on both sides, I'm guessing. So I'm really looking forward to this one, and like I said, associate it with Abby because of that chain of events. Then we have Every Man a Hero by Ray Lambert and Jim DeFelice. This is a memoir of D-Day. And this one I am 90% sure Abby recommended, simply because it is a D-Day memoir, and in the States we largely tend to focus on the Pacific War, not the European front. Whereas obviously in Europe they focus on the European front as opposed to the Pacific because they were kind of more involved in the European front. Hi, Melody. So yeah, that is where I got that. I don't know much about this other than obviously Memoir of D-Day, which is kind of a big thing. Melody, you can go in your kennel, dear. But I am excited to read it. Do not get fur on my clothes, dog. That's why I wash them. That and the sweat. Thank you. I also want to read An Unreliable Magic by Rinch Pecco, because this is the second in the Wicked As You Wish series, which is sort of dystopian United States meets fairy tales. And I absolutely adored the first one, so obviously I needed the second one when it came out, and I've loved everything that Rinch Pecco has written that I've read thus far, so I do want to continue this series and read that. Also, Abby just recently read The Never Tilting World by Rinch Pecco and really enjoyed that, which means that she now likes Rinch Pecco, and therefore I can stuff this into that month. Then she'll be very happy again, because The Crow is book 3 in the series, good lord, the Chronicles of Pelennor series. Pelennor Chronicles? Chronicles of Pelennor? This series. This one. This is her favorite series. You may or may not have noticed that it's related to her channel name, and I have read the first two and love them, so obviously I need to read the third and the fourth, and then I can have the series done. Whether or not I get through all of these books this month, I don't know, because in case you haven't noticed, I apparently have multiple problems, including the fact that a lot of these books are really big. But this is, think of YA Lord of the Rings with a young girl as the protagonist, and there's music involved. Bard. She's a bard. Then, essentially, any Illumicrate book, including The Drowned Woods by Emily Lloyd-Jones, which I've heard is okay. Welsh-based, or Welsh-inspired, if I remember correctly, which sounds really fun. I don't know much about it. It's very pretty. But Abby has read this. She enjoyed it. Wasn't, you know, particularly memorable, but any Illuma Crate book, which also, quite frankly, would include The Devil Makes Three by Tori Bovolino, which I've heard good things about, and this one sounds really interesting. And I've had it since, God, September last year, so I haven't read that. And then Abby is doing a Gothtober/Carrie themed month for our birthdays, and so she is planning on hoping to read Foundation by Mercedes Lackey, and because she's reading a Mercedes Lackey book, it means I can now associate Mercedes Lackey with her, which means I can read a Mercedes Lackey book, which could be either The Silver Bullets of Annie Oakley by Mercedes Lackey, which is an Elemental Masters novel, or I can go back and reread the next two in the Griffin series, which are The Silver and the White Griffin, not necessarily in that order because I don't remember the order, but they're up there and behind, and I don't want to get them, quite frankly, so I'm not going to. However, this one does sound really fun. Anyway, those are all of the books. Oh no, nope. Also Pompeii. I could read the Pompeii, because you remember the whole volcanology thing with Abby? Yeah, she studied Vesuvius for her thesis, something about splatters of lava. Spatters of lava? I do this every time. She studied flying molten bits. You even corrected me. At any rate, she studied the volcano, and so Pompeii is, you know, kind of her thing, which means I can read this one too. I have so many books. I could start reading my reread of Graceling in time for Sea Sparrow's release in November. Oh my god, because Abby has started reading Graceling and is really enjoying the series, which makes me so happy. So happy, you have no idea. Anyway, I'm gonna stop babbling now and go film the 2 tags that she has tagged me in. So, those are all the books that I would like to read in October. All of the gods help me, because I'm clearly mental. So anyway, I'm gonna go now, and I will see you in my next video. Wish me luck meanwhile. Bye.